Welcome to a new planetary and seismic update. We look at the SGI graph from the previous time frame. We had the convergence of planetary and lunar geometry on the 9th 10th with two planetary peaks. Purple is Venus, red is Mercury. We had a lunar peak on the 11th and then again a second convergence on the 13th 14th, where I estimated would likely be the most critical time, also because of the involvement of the new moon here and considerable convergence of lunar geometry. So let's have a look at the seismic activity that we had in this time frame. We had a 6.4, one of the strongest earthquakes in this time frame, right at the peak, the lunar peak on the 11th. And then with the second convergence, that's where the seismic increase kicked off. A burst of stronger earthquakes, 5.5 and larger, including 3 magnitude 6 earthquakes within just over 24 hours. And about 9 magnitude 5.5 earthquakes in just 4 days, well above average. Fortunately, no larger seismic activity, no high 6 or magnitude 7. And this has everything to do with the condition of Earth's crust. There has to be a larger fault section at the tipping point. That certainly was not the case so far. So this is why it stayed in the 6 magnitude range. But an obvious seismic increase, the burst of stronger earthquakes, this is the typical temporal clustering that we see. And the new moon here, that also adds to more tidal stress. This is an additional factor. Let's have a look at the next time frame up until the 27th of July. It doesn't look as spectacular, but again we have a near convergence tight sequence of 2 planetary conjunctions involving Mercury and Venus. The first one is here on the 21st, Mercury, Mars, Uranus, and the second is Venus, Sun, Uranus on the 22nd. It is preceded by 2 lunar peaks. This is because the moon aligns with Neptune and also with Saturn. This is on the 19th and on the 20th, preceding the convergence of planetary conjunctions here on the 21st and the 22nd. And then we have additional lunar peaks on the 24th, 25th, arguably more critical. Let's have a look at the solar system with this convergence from the 19th to the 22nd. We have the lunar conjunctions with Neptune and with Saturn on the 19th and 20th. And then, as you can see, we have Mercury, Mars and Uranus in a conjunction coming up, and also Venus, Sun, Uranus. This is a tight convergence, critical convergence of 2 planetary conjunctions. And in addition, we have the lunar geometry 135 degrees with Uranus and 45 degrees with Venus. That should also not be underestimated. And in addition, we have Venus at a right angle with Mercury and Jupiter. This is all converging from the 19th to the 22nd. Critical convergence. Now the key here is that this planetary geometry converging on the 21st, 22nd is not immediately followed by lunar geometry or converging with lunar geometry. That happens on the 24th and the 25th. So with the first lunar peaks we could see a seismic increase, but probably not as much as with the second lunar peaks, because they are a bit away from the planetary peaks on the 21st, 22nd. So I estimate that a seismic increase may start, or let's say critical seismic increase may start here on the 23rd, later on the 23rd, approaching the lunar conjunctions here. Let's have a look at that lunar geometry in the solar system. We have a double 135 degrees here with Saturn and with Mercury. That's what the moon here is making or doing with Mercury and Saturn, 135 degrees in a very short time. And this is happening on the 24th. There's only about 4 hours in between, 3.5 hours. And then we have the moon lining up with Uranus and with Mars on the 24th and 25th. And as we have seen, Mars and Uranus are key players in the geometry, the planetary geometry here on the 21st and on the 22nd. So my estimate is that the largest seismic activity is probably going to occur around the time of the second lunar peaks. So they could be later on the 23rd, but especially on the 24th to the 26th. I think that is the most critical time. And if it arrives late, a larger event may happen here on the 27th. And this is because the planetary conjunctions converge here on the 21st, 22nd, and then we always look at the next lunar peaks, and that's on the 24th, 25th. So in my estimate, this is the more critical time, but don't underestimate the lunar peaks on the 19th and 20th. There could be an obvious seismic response well into the higher 5 magnitude range, maybe even magnitude 6. Okay, let's have a quick look at the first week of August. I normally don't do that, but this is an exception because we're going to have a huge peak here with the full moon on the 29th of July. And this because of an extremely rare tide convergence, because the moon is not just in opposition with the sun, that's the full moon, but also with Jupiter behind the sun. And this is all happening within 2 hours from 12:30 I think UTC to 14:30 UTC. Very, very tight. There is additional planetary geometry converging there as well. And on top of that, we have a quadruple conjunction of the planets from the 1st, 2nd to the 5th, including 2 additional planetary conjunctions. And we have lunar geometry in between there as well. This is a highly critical time, especially roughly from the 3rd to the 6th, 7th of August. If you have holiday plans, be on extra alert in that time frame, particularly from the 3rd to the 7th. But we have the critical full moon here, and that can also trigger increased seismic activity. I will do a much more detailed analysis of this geometry. This is the first week of August when we get there. For now, we look at the coming time frame. Again, 23rd to be on the safe side, from the 23rd to the 26th is the second half of this time frame. It's probably going to be the most critical time. Check out the latest updates on the website and also on our social media. Stay safe, everyone, and until next time.